This episode is made possible by Armoire. Armoire makes getting dressed easy. With a clothing rental membership from Armoire, build the perfect wardrobe with brands that are high quality, unique, and recommended just for you. All you have to do is take a 5-minute style quiz and select items from your dynamic, personalized closet. The styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. Then when you're ready for new clothes, just swap them out. Listen, I live in Southern California. There is absolutely no need for puffer coats or any sort of those winter jackets. But when I travel anywhere else in the world in these cold months, I'm often burdened with the task of getting winter clothes. And now with Armoire, I can just rent my winter wardrobe. It's brilliant. Right now, our listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/dateable. That is armoire.style, spelled ARMOIRE.style/DATEABLE to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating insider, if you will. On each episode, you'll hear commentary from my producer, Julie Kraftchick, and other surprise co-hosts. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. Welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. And you know, with modern dating, these new terms come out pretty much every week. And sometimes I just have no idea what they're talking about. First, there was ghosting. I think that was like the trendy word of 2016. And this year, a few new words came out, including benching and breadcrumbing. And now there's zombieing. Let me go through all the definitions because it has to do with our guest today. Her name is Farrah. She's been in San Francisco for 7 years. She's single, originally from Dallas, and she's in her mid-30s. She came to us and said, guys, I keep on getting breadcrumbed. What is the deal? Are these guys not interested at all, or is it just bad timing? So we're going to get to the bottom of this, but I also have a guest host with us today. His name is Rich. He's a former guest who is also recently married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And he is really interested in this relationship coaching space, and he has lots of very insightful thoughts. Like Julie and I just love talking to Rich because he really offers great insight. So we brought Rich back to talk to Farrah about breadcrumbing. But first, Rich is like, what the hell is breadcrumbing? So let me typical married man. You don't know what's up. So let me go through exactly what the terms are. First, there was ghosting. According to Urban Dictionary, ghosting is the act of suddenly disappearing from someone that you've been dating. So it's just cutting off all communication. So we know that ghosting is the ultimate douchey move. Mm-hmm. Then we have what's called benching. Benching is when you put someone on the back burner, okay? And there's absolutely no movement in the relationship going forward or going back. You text them just enough to keep them around because you're getting them warmed up in case they're up to bat. Okay, so that's benching. Then there comes breadcrumbing. So I was really curious, what's the difference between breadcrumbing and benching? Julie and I had this conversation last week. We were like, what is that? What is that difference? The difference is breadcrumbing is a sneakier way of benching someone where, according to Urban Dictionary, it's the act of sending out flirtatious but non-committal text messages, aka breadcrumbs, or the act of low-effort attempts to just keep someone around. But here's the kicker. Every time this person comes around, either with a text message or a hangout, it's very mixed signals because each time they're affectionate with their text messages or with their advances. So it's really confusing because you may not hear from this person for a long time, but then they come back and they act like they're in love with you. So this is breadcrumbing is the ultimate offense where you feel like there's hope.
Farrah is shaking her head.
Farrah's like, I know what's up.
Entire explanation.
And just because I mentioned zombieing, I'll just tell you quickly what that is. Zombieing is when you're in a relationship with someone, they ghost on you and then come back and want to resurrect that relationship much later in life, which I think is just called life. I don't know. Like, how's that zombieing in general? I feel like that happens all the time. So Farrah, let's go to you because you told us that breadcrumbing is something you experience all the time.
Yes.
Tell us about why or what's happening here.
If I knew why, I probably wouldn't be here. But what's been happening is just like you said. I mean, you have these men who, and I think it's really typically the alpha males, the men who are very egocentric, ego-driven, and they really want to put you in the beta kind of arena. So I think of everything as B, right? Back burner, breadcrumbing, beta, right? So it's kind of like it all kind of falls into that category. So these men, they're usually, founders, CEOs, business development type of people. And yeah, they think, oh, well, it's like you said, it's similar to benching, but what they do is they call you, sweet names and sweetheart, darling, of course I want to see you. It's my schedule. I can't, it's my job. I'm so sorry. And then you go, well, yeah, but my friend saw you the other day, with another girl. So what is going on here? So yeah, those are kind of some of the experiences.
So this is happening to you on a regular basis?
Fairly regularly. I would say like every couple months when a new guy comes in, they like the pursuit, they like the chase, they like being the alpha male. And naturally, I'm like, well, if you like hoops, here's a couple. So I throw them out there. Like, well, we have a high bar. We have to have a high standard, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go, okay, great. I think this is a guy that I really want to invest in. And as soon as I reach that point, all of a sudden work gets in the way, things get busy, and you go, well, then what happened here? What's going on? So, yeah.
So when you put them through hoops and then you reach a point where you're ready to pursue something, what are sort of the signals or what are some of the words you're saying to them to show them that?
Good question. So for me, it's not so much about the words so much as it is like physical affection, not talking about the other stuff, but just, okay, I'm ready, and just letting them know, I really like you. I really, this is something that I want to pursue, and I can't wait to see you. So, just getting more excited about seeing them again, and then all of a sudden it's, I'm too busy.
What's an example of like someone that you've been with that like how they've come back? Like, is it always just in like a sexual nature? Do they come back as friends? Like, what's kind of been your experience?
It's all of the above, and again, it's very situational, right? I'm also Persian, so it also happens within the Persian community as well. It's a really small community in the Bay Area, so it's kind of like porcupines trying to mate. You have to do it really carefully, otherwise you are definitely going to get stung. So everyone, and in that respect, I kind of get it. You're like, well, I like this person, but I'm not sure where the push pull is. But outside of the community, it's like you said, it's just, hey, how's it going? Hey, I think I saw you at this place, or whatever excuse. Maybe they're lying about it. Who knows?
They just make up an excuse to get back in touch.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Or they'll ask for help. Hey, I know that you're really helpful with XYZ. Can you help me with this? And naturally, I'm the kind of person who likes to help my friends, people in my life. So as I help them, then it kind of builds on top of that. And then all of a sudden they skedaddle and, I'm too
work help or like other type of help?
Any type of help, whether it's family or work. Yeah. So especially in my line of work, I have some significant pull when it comes to the fact, like if they're founders and they need to find people to work for them, hey, can you help me with this? So that's happened as well.
Have you ever breadcrumbed someone else?
Hopefully not. I don't think I have. I'm usually very straightforward. I'm very much the clear cut. I like you. Let's do this. And then they freak out. And so I don't know if this is a Bay Area thing, because when I was in Dallas, this was never an issue. But coming to the Bay Area, it's almost like people are afraid of catching a feeling. Right.
Have you ever been explicit with them about how you feel?
Yeah. So what's happened in the past is, so I'll give you an example. There's a guy who's a founder, and he coined this term amongst friends called ambiguidates.
Wow. Okay, that
Yep.
goes with zombieing, benching, ghosting.
Yeah, exactly.
Breadcrumbing.
Just call us Hasbro. I mean, apparently we're naming games here all the time. So apparently with the ambiguity date, because he's a founder, he goes on these like interviews / dates / I don't know what, and then he purposefully makes it ambiguous. Don't really know what's going on here. And I didn't find this out until after things happened with him, but he attempted to date me along with these other women, and I was like, no, bro, this is just, it's not going to happen. Because what he was trying to do is he was just trying to sleep with me, and I'm just not that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept shutting it out. And finally I said, you know what? I like this guy, but I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe this is just standard operating procedures. So I very bluntly went to him. I said, look, I do like you, and I'd like to get to know you better. And so he said, okay, let's talk. So we talked about it, and he kept talking about how physically attractive I am. And then, it got to the point where I said, like, could you please stop? This is actually making me uncomfortable right now. And then he goes, I really like you, but I'm not emotionally attracted to you.
Wow.
And I go, huh?
Emotionally
Like,
attracted.
Now, keep in mind, I have friends who are family therapists, who are counselors, and I brought this to them, and they go, what does that mean? I go, well, if you don't know what it means, then I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
back in the day, it was trendy to say not emotionally available, not
Right.
emotionally, what was it? Like, my emotional currency is
Bankrupt.
empty. Yeah, exactly. It was
Right.
something like that, but emotional attraction.
Now, keep in mind, we'd never gone on a date.
Oh.
He had tried to sleep with me a couple times. Again, this is part of the community. See people out in parties, and people get a little weird, and you go, "Ooh, no, I'm not going upstairs with you. I'm not that kind of girl. Thank you very much."
Mm-hmm.
How could you even know me on an emotional level when we've never even gone on a date? So to me, that's just an excuse to not.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Rich, what do you think is happening here?
I think that you, unfortunately, have run into a string of people that are just not in the place of wanting a serious relationship, but they also are not mature enough to I guess, go about treating you the right way and having those conversations in the right way. So when I was dating and I wanted to be more serious with someone, I would lead by saying, hey, I want to get to know you better. Hey, we should go on a date. Hey, I was very explicit about that up front.
But at some point, you said you were a serial dater. So when you were serial dating, now you know the definition of breadcrumbing.
Yes.
Are you guilty of doing something like that?
Absolutely not. Because as soon as I knew that I was not attracted to her in any capacity, I would either call her and tell her or meet up with her and tell her in person. I would not do it through a text message. I would not vanish from the face of the planet. You know, and so I thought that at the very least she deserved the respect of knowing.
So why do you think these men are doing this to Farrah? Do you think they're doing this to other women too?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the only reason they try with you is because it works.
With somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. But at the same time, I really believe that for people that are extremely career focused, you often don't make time to introspect. You often don't make time to get to know yourself and what you want and where you're at. And if there's one thing I know about founders, especially here in the Bay Area, is that they don't have time for a relationship. Totally. And even in the VCs that I've heard speak, they don't even really condone it. Because from a VC, they want their return on investment.
Right.
And as a founder, that means your business is your baby.
That's
your business is your relationship.
Yeah.
And we've had founders on the show. Josh Rasmussen came on the show, and he basically, his whole episode was, I'm not dateable. I don't have time to date. I live at my office. My kids are my employees. I'm married to my work. And guess what? His episode airs. 50 women contacted him, were like, I'm going to change your mind. You should give me a chance.
Literally more than any other guy we've had on the show.
He still gets hit up all the time. So I really think, yes, I think it's a very douchey move to breadcrumb someone, but they're breadcrumbing because it works, like we were saying. It works on somebody. Somebody is disrespecting themselves enough to let this happen to them. So we need to stop this on a very personal level. We need to individually stop people from disrespecting our time. But Farrah, I want to ask you, what are these? I mean, you're obviously attracted to men who are alpha. They have their careers together. What other personalities are you attracted to?
I would say, obviously, men who are more introspective, believe it or not, even though that's like not the go-to as far as San Francisco dating is concerned. I mean, I think when you ask anybody, what traits are you looking for? No one's going to say, I want a guy who cheats on me, who's going to lie to me, who's going to do all of those things. So, I mean, those things are definitely, okay, let's put that aside. Yes, I want someone to be respectful and kind and caring. But for me, I do want the picket fence and the husband and the kids and all of those things. But the reason why I like the alpha male is because I'm also very career focused and driven. And I like to support and help and actually have more of a partnership with someone, as opposed to just being that beta that just sits back and goes, okay, whatever you want, I'll just do. That's not how I've been successful in my career and in my life. So that's why I'm attracted to that.
Do you think men feel that's like competing to them? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
So the thing about being an alpha is that there isn't room for someone else next to you, right? You're the alpha for a reason. When you think of it in terms of packs of dogs, one of them is in charge.
Right.
And the only way that changes is when they fight about it. And then whoever wins the fight becomes the next alpha, right? And so when you think about that in terms of people and the way we act and sort of the way we draw our boundaries and things, it just seems like their priorities are such that running their business and being a founder and focusing on their career is at the very top of that. However, I will say that as a man, something that I have thought and felt for a very long time is that I don't want to find myself in a relationship until I feel personally that I am in a place where I can support her.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of men feel that way.
Have told us that
We've
too.
also, relationships end because that's not where they're at, alone.
So that's an interesting point, because if you look at the founders in San Francisco, and I'm talking about men and women, let's not, only talk about male founders. There's this idea of a public alpha persona and an authentic alpha. So I think a lot of founders are fake it till you make it. They have to portray a very alpha personality when they're out in public. And some actually aren't real alphas authentically. Yeah. I mean, just thinking about Josh, he's very alpha in a public setting, but at home, he's like, when I want someone else to tell me what to do because I spent my entire day
making decisions.
I want to come home and I don't want to be an alpha. So I guess the question is for you, Farrah, are you basically attracted to these sort of public alpha figures?
I think on a certain level, yes. For me, it doesn't matter what their public persona is in terms of their celebrity level, if you will. I just really don't care. I don't want some people knocking on my door that I don't know. But yeah, I think on a certain level, definitely, for sure. Because I've had men who are more on the beta, more, laid back come after me, and I go, oh, honey, you can't handle me. So this is just not going to work. You are a sweetheart, but,
I will crush you.
I will totally crush you.
So let me meet Rich. Rich is married, but I would define you. I would say you're alpha because you do take charge, but you're not like an overt public alpha. You don't walk into a bar and be like, you, me, go.
Throw her over the shoulder.
Right. So, but also Rich would never breadcrumb someone or ghost them. So I think you need to find someone like him. So where do we find men like you? I guess that's a question.
Well,
do you have a brother, Rich? Evidently, I need to
anyone. A clone.
So when I was dating and I was frustrated with the quality of the dating pool, what I would do is take that and sort of think about it and meditate on it, and I would sort of apply filters to the next person. And what I tried to do was get to a point, and this is kind of scientific in a way, and as a programmer I tend to think about things like that, but I said, okay, for the next woman that I date, I want to take less time figuring out if she is the one or not, because I don't want to, because I'm not getting any younger, and neither is she. And out of respect for everyone's time, right? I want to know sooner than later. And so what I would like to do is afterwards take some time to really think about that relationship and what went wrong and how I met her, and a little bit more about myself. Like, okay, maybe I don't like women really who are this way. Maybe I'm not really ready to date yet because of XYZ, but the only way you realize those things, right, is when you take a second to digest it. And so for me, I would sort of apply these filters and then kind of look through this lens and then try to make those determinations a little sooner. And unfortunately, it means that you wind up going through that, and as a recruiter, right? You know, it's like
well,
you have a lot of those conversations
too, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, so
I know.
but you have a lot of these conversations where it's like, "Hi, my name is Farrah, and this is what I'm into, and this is what I do for a living," and you get honestly, you get tired.
Fatigued.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
But we should work on getting these filters for you. Let's think about that, right? Because for these men that you're attracted to, do they tell you pretty early on that they're not ready for a relationship?
Never, ever.
Really?
And,
so
and
if you ask them, they'll tell you that they're ready?
Yeah, they'll tell me some form of absolutely, and and then they'll just kind of go on that path, and by the way, it goes both ways. I don't really pursue oftentimes. They pursue me. And so you go, whoa. I clearly have a reputation of this is, Farrah is this way. She's looking for this. So usually it's through friends. So friends already know, and they've given them the forewarning, hey, she's looking for something serious. She doesn't date very often.
Right.
So they already know. So it's almost like I'm the challenge, and that they want to like go, oh, okay.
Well, that's okay. So that's interesting because Rich, you said when you were dating, you also felt like you also told women you were ready for a relationship when you weren't, because at the time you didn't know you weren't ready for a relationship.
I thought I was.
Yeah.
I wanted to be.
Yes, exactly. So these men could be well-intentioned. Maybe they are looking for a relationship. Then what's that next red flag that we can look for?
So I think in any situation, the best thing to kind of do is to try to ask better questions.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
better, more pointed questions. Get to the point sooner.
Such as?
Yeah, let's go.
Such as, how do you see us interacting together as a couple? How much time do you see yourself spending with me
That's a
Do
good
you
when we're
one.
think
together?
Do you think that's too early? though,
No,
to have?
never.
No.
I think that's the point. Like, do it
No.
earlier.
Do it earlier.
So
Never.
I'm divorced,
Okay.
and I would say that day
Well,
one.
You recently married, divorced prior to that. Not like you just got married and
Divorced
divorced.
a while ago.
That's the fastest marriage ever.
You're giving
But-
Kim Kardashian her money. Okay.
But I thought in my mind, okay, that is probably a deal breaker for many, many women. And so I would throw that out early, because if that's not going to work for you, then you
Right.
should know right away.
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
again, we can save each other time.
And I think it might be I don't know, obviously, the conversations you have fully, but like if you ask like someone or like say what that you're looking for, and then it's something they can just easily agree with, you don't get that same depth. But if you ask more of the details, and I think like you'll be able to tell a little more like
Sure, of
what,
course.
and also what a relationship means to them.
Yeah, that's actually a better
Mhm.
question. What does a relationship mean to you? How would you define relationship? I also love Rich's question. How much time do you see us spending together?
Well, especially
That's
with
a
founders,
huge
that's-
one.
Right.
Yes. How
Right.
much time can you give me, and how often can I see you?
I have a question. What are you looking for in a relationship?
Good
because,
question.
Because if you can understand that, then you can draw questions from it
Right.
that sort of inform whether or not this man will work for you
Yeah.
and work with your idea of what the relationship is that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm not the kind of woman that's going to just sit home, pop out kids, and do the whole nuclear family thing. I think
Right.
it's great if that's what you want. It's not something that works for me.
Mhm.
I'm just too worky of a person.
Mm.
I will love my children till the day I die when I have them. But in the meantime, the husband needs to also be aware of that, be supportive of that. And I will be his number one cheerleader. It's okay, not just a cheerleader, but actual support
Mhm.
and actual help. You know, that's something that I love about relationships is I'm in it to win it with my partner. Let's do this. Like,
That's right.
let's,
Yeah.
buckle up. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's just who I am as a person. And even with my friends, I mean, they'll come to me all the time and ask for advice. And I am on it as soon as I can answer the question. I'm not the kind of person that just delays. It's
Right.
okay, this person is significant in my life. They
Mhm.
need my help. They're getting it full force. I give them everything. And then we're good. So yeah, I think that answers the question.
What
I don't know.
about romantically? How do you see yourself interacting with your future boyfriend?
Yeah, that's also a great question because I mean I've seen and had it all, right? I've had like, let's do the romantic trips to Napa and have all the gorgeous whatevers.
Mhm.
For me, that doesn't really matter as much. It's more about the little things of just appreciation and caring and just being told like I love you and I appreciate you and
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, I think goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So it's probably good to bring up the 5 love languages. So, you know, how do you like to be appreciated, and how does the other person like to show their appreciation? That's also important to know. I think just asking those pointed questions in those first couple of dates, you'll really get to the bottom of this, because I think we've talked about this in a few episodes. People think they want something, but they don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah.
So yes, they can say, yes, I want this. Yes, I want a relationship. Yes, I want a family. Yes, I want kids. But they can't articulate how and when they're going to get there.
Absolutely.
So I think those are the better questions to ask. It's about the process of getting to these goals.
So I totally get like how you have a certain type. I totally understand that. But have you thought about deviating from that type or taking qualities of that type?
I've done it. Doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work. I've tried and had lovely dates with some lovely gentlemen, but at the end of the day, I can't be me around them, which is, I like to be vivacious and funny and, you know, just be this big personality. That's just who I am.
Right.
And if they can't match or at least complement that, it's not going to work. They just kind of are a little too withdrawn, a little too wallflowerish. That just doesn't work for me.
So I get that, but to me, that sounds more like a personality trait than like an occupation. And I totally get like some occupation. Yeah, like I guess
honey.
like
yeah. I do. Doctors, lawyers, engineers. I'm Persian. Those are the main 3.
The 3 main food groups.
Yeah, like
so you're not sold just on.
Oh no.
Okay.
That's just the typical type that's attracted to me and that I happen to be attracted
Got
to.
it.
I'm not married to any one of those. Like if they don't do this or they don't, and I know women who are like that who go. I know a woman who said once, if he didn't go to MIT undergrad, but he went to MIT graduate school, I'm not dating him.
Interesting.
I've actually heard women say that too.
Yeah, people are.
Yeah. It's about the undergrad. Yeah.
It's wacky.
It's so wacky. I know.
I'm not like that by any means. But yes,
Okay.
But you're open to grad school, MIT.
Yeah. That feels great. I can even help with the debt. So let's just work on that together.
So I have a question. How do you meet these guys exactly?
Usually through friends. Yeah, through friends or going out to parties. And I've tried online dating, and I've actually, that's the reason why I ended up in San Francisco, because my then boyfriend and I met online. We dated long distance, and I came out to San Francisco. So I'm open to that.
Wow.
He's still a significant part of my life. I love him to death, and he's married with 3 gorgeous children.
Wow.
His wife is lovely, and she's a much better fit for him than me. So, you know, it ended
Was that your last relationship?
No, it wasn't. So that was 7 years ago.
Tell us about your last relationship.
Oh God, that was that was me going. Okay, so let's go back to the relationship before that, and then you'll get a better sense of how I ended up where I am. So some friends of mine set me up with their cousin, and he lived in DC. So we had a long distance relationship, and again, we had all these conversations. Okay, am I going to move out there? Are you going to move here? Great. We even did a photo shoot in LA as like, okay, when we get engaged, these are going to be the photos that we're going to send out to all our friends and family. We took the photos. I broke up with him 4 days later. Wow. He was so mean to me, and I didn't know what was going on. I mean, it was to the degree that I just said, something is really bad. 9 months later, I start dating somebody else. And while I'm dating him, one of my friends goes, hey, Farrah, I have some news for you. And I go, what? And she goes, your ex is engaged. Wow. And I go, wait, excuse me? What are you talking about? And so then, of course, I mean, the FBI ain't got nothing on a woman with a plan. And when she's like, what is going on? So I did my digging. And as it turns out, he was cheating on me, and I didn't know. And I thought, well, this is a cousin of like a really good friend of mine. They would know what was going on with this guy. And so he was seeing her, and he even like brought her over here when I was having surgery one time to know that I wasn't actually going to be out and about. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
So that happened. I find out, and then I made a pact with myself, and I said, okay, I'm dating this guy right now. I'm going to make this work no matter what. I can make anything work, right? This is the alpha female in me going, I can do this. I can conquer the world. And so I ended up having this relationship that ended up being about 4 years. And it was just up and down, break up, get back together. Just tried everything, and it just didn't work. And he recently, on Saturday, actually, a few days before this, just blew up my phone and was like, well, good luck finding your beta male. And I'm like, okay,
So this ended recently?
It ended back in February.
Okay, so this year.
So this year. I would still be in touch a little bit. And he's been trying to tempt me to go to Hawaii with him. And I'm like, no, it's not a good idea. And
so I have a question because I have a theory, but I want to ask you a question first.
Okay, go ahead.
What happens when these people reappear? Like, what is your reaction? Not this guy, just like these
Great
new string
question.
of
Yeah.
Great question.
I try to be open about it. I'm like, how is it that I can help you today? What's going on here? Just I find that the best thing to do is when you're open, just, instead of asking leading questions, let them open up the conversation, let them lead. And then I can take away the nuggets that I need to figure out, okay, what's really going on here? I've never really, aside from this guy, I've never taken a guy back. It just doesn't happen. Because I try everything possible to make it work. Communicate, let's do these things. Do you want to see therapy? What do you want to do?
But when they reach out, you are receptive to them.
Absolutely.
And then do you call them out on it?
In a nice way. Okay, well, it didn't work out for these reasons. How are we going to address that? And then they usually revert back to making excuses and blaming it on me. And I go, okay, no, this is really not.
Right.
This is not okay. This is
for these people that you've just dated a couple times and breadcrumbed.
Or ex-boyfriends, guys that I've been serious with. And even, yes, the breadcrumbers too.
So I have a theory because I've been here. So,
We've all been
I
there.
think that you said something really key that you will, because you're an alpha woman, you will do anything to make it work. And I've been there before. And I think that's when the up and down relationships happen and when you let people back into your life. And I think that's why the breadcrumbing is happening, because they know subconsciously that you'll be there and you'll be open to it because you want to make it work with them.
That makes sense.
So I think there's something that's and I think also it depends. In the past I've had this happen, and I think there's certain men that think that it's almost like a challenge. Is she going to reply? Is she not going to reply? Let's see what happens. And it's coming from a place of ego, not from a place of genuine, I want to get back together with this person. So I think so much of it's how you react. So maybe if I know it's hard because I'm this way too, it's you want to be give people the second chance and the benefit of the doubt. But I think if you stop doing that, you won't have people breadcrumbing as much, and you'll attract people Rich or other men, not Rich because he's married, but he's a clone. But people that would never do this because that's just not the person they are, and they'll see that you're not the person that will take it.
Totally.
So do you ever have a gut feeling about these guys the first time around, that for how he spoke or his tone that one time or something that he said or the way he looked at me, this guy's not the one, and then have them reach out to you later and then still be receptive to it?
No, I'm usually pretty good at reading people normally, right? For work and stuff. But when it comes to these guys, I think because I'm even so jaded that I, put up my own walls, so it's really hard to read sometimes. But yeah.
I hate to say it, but something that I have tried to get better at is literally pruning those types of people out of my life, and just getting better at setting those boundaries, and either making you work harder to break through the boundary or not even giving you the time of day.
Yeah.
And that, I would say that is a rule I've tried to live by even outside of my, former romantic relationships. It's just, if this is who I am, these are my values, this is what it takes to be in my life, because I have so many other things going on. And if you can't meet the base criteria here, then you should just go look elsewhere. But the way I tend to communicate that is with radio silence.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
They don't
it's
deserve
true.
your time.
Yeah.
Back to, I want to go back to when you're first dating these guys, and you've said this a couple times, you're a challenge to them. You put them through hoops. Explain more about what that means.
So part of that is what Rich just said, which was holding things back and not being as, not that I'm not open, but just going, okay, I'm not going to be as affectionate and warm and kind and caring as I normally would to people in my inner circle. You need to prove yourself. If you don't prove yourself, I'm just like you said, why am I even here? Time is such a valuable resource. It's the only resource you can't buy or make or create. It's just, and I'd rather spend time with people who love me. Then why would I spend time with this person here? So So that's one challenge. And then the second is actually physically seeing me. It's, hey, you know what? I'm busy too, and I know you're busy, so I need you to work around my schedule. So that's another tactic that I use, and I know that's not, that's what it is. but yeah, I mean, it's okay. If you want me, you need to fit into my schedule. I'm not going to just fit into your schedule. So that's usually a big one with founders, especially. If they can't fit into my schedule, I'm like, well, they probably just don't have the time to date. So I try to get it to the end, the get-go.
So I have a couple things to say about that. We also have girlfriends who put men through hoops in the beginning and present these obstacle courses of sorts. And then once the guy goes through the obstacle course and they get the girl, they suddenly realize she is way too high maintenance for me. If I carry on this relationship, this is going to be way too much effort. Look how much effort it took for me to get here. So I'm going to bow out. When you're in the mindset of me versus you, you have to prove yourself to me. You have to show that you want to spend time with me. Then it puts the guy or whoever you're dating on the offense, right? So then instead of thinking about challenging them in the beginning, what about just think about you two as a team and working on, could we make this work? Right. So maybe letting go of some of those walls in the beginning and being that warm, friendly, affectionate person from the get-go. Now, you have to have standards. It's not that you are letting go of your standards, but you're letting your true self come out earlier and being vulnerable earlier. So then these guys won't feel like you're some sort of prize they're trying to win. Right. Because that's the type you're attracting right now.
That's what I was going to say. I totally agree with everything you said. I think there's two things, like the guy that's that like alpha, like I want to win this challenge. That's who's going to actually do this. And the guy that wants a relationship is going to say this girl's not open and move on.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
Okay.
Is that I shouldn't have to work so hard to break through these layers. I wish she were just a little more genuine and upfront with me. And I don't know if this is going to be worth the time, you know? And so I would definitely be thinking those things. And I think that's great advice, especially because, you know, I think much of what I was saying kind of is in the same realm of this is who you are. And the sooner this person gets to see that, the sooner they get to sort of know if they can see themselves with you, right? And I think the more genuine you are up front too, the more of who they are you can get to see. And likewise, if they have the same barriers and the same walls and they're just difficult to talk to and to deal with and to meet with, then maybe they aren't worth your time either. You know, so.
Absolutely. But being vulnerable in the beginning is so hard for everyone to do, but it's key because when you become vulnerable, the other person becomes vulnerable too. And I think what happens in this modern day of dating is that women have their shit together. I get it. You have your shit together. You've worked really hard to get where you are. So when you date these other men who also have their shit together, it becomes a competition of, well, I have my shit together, so I'm busy all the time. So you're going to have to fit into my schedule, right? Exactly. It becomes competitive in a way. Like it's almost like both parties are trying to prove something to each other. When at the end of the day, it's great you have your shit together, but you're looking for a partner who has your best interests at heart. Not so much, oh, can I be at your level when it comes to having my life together? Of course they should have their life together, but do they want to create a life with you? I think that's the ultimate question. So being vulnerable in the beginning and just saying, I'm totally fine being by myself. Like I'm totally fine as an independent woman, but I do think being in a relationship enhances who I am. Right. And I'm looking for a partner to help me with that. Right. And I have weaknesses. I'm vulnerable and I'm looking for someone to complement those qualities. Let's start with Rich. What are your takeaways from this?
I kind of wish we had maybe another hour to talk.
Right.
Well, honestly, though, I have so many more questions about the guys and their profiles.
Oh,
and
I could come back. We could have
round two.
Because I feel like it just, you know, talking about how most of them are very accomplished and very career focused and oftentimes don't have time to sort of date. I think there's something else there that we're missing that can sort of help at least, you know, give you a little more to walk away from. There are so many of them who just seem very non-committal, but also like non-willing to be vulnerable, non-willing to compromise with you, non-willing to just be honest and upfront with you. And the unfortunate thing that I've come to learn is that a lot of people are very selfish. And sometimes when you are so highly accomplished, sometimes that is what it takes to get there.
Yes.
Right. And unfortunately, in order to be in a successful relationship, you need to learn to set the ego aside. You need to learn to compromise. You need to learn to treat someone as an equal and think about them as much as you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it sounds like that's the kind of person you want. And as a guy, and knowing many, many guys, it's hard to find those qualities because it takes a lot to work to be that way if you weren't raised with those values. Yeah, is what I find. And so
I agree.
It literally takes someone that's either gone through hardship and had to learn to empathize with people, or who has taken the time to travel solo and discover themselves, right, and experiment with life and figure out who they are. And I feel like when you meet those kind of guys, you'll know them from day one because they will treat you completely differently.
Right.
And hopefully when the time comes, you can see that and you are ready for that and you're willing to embrace it. But I think like the combination you want, a lot of those guys are taken.
But I think, I guess, actionable, since that's I think like what we talked about, just staying true to your own values, and like when these people come back, like as much as you want to help them, like I guess more it's like my own time, like respect that and like set that boundary, and then I think the right people will start to filter in more.
Well, also I think it's like you need to figure out, when we talk about like I've been ghosted, I've been breadcrumbed, I've been benched, you have to think about, why is this happening to me? And not so much why are people doing this to me, but what am I doing to attract these type of people?
Right.
So it's about choosing the right people to begin with. And Farrah, for someone who is alpha, who has your life in control, and you definitely take charge, I'm very surprised that you don't call these men out. You're nice about it. You're very politically correct about it. But you should say, what you did to me or what you're doing to me, I'm not okay with it because you're disrespecting my time. Because ultimately, these men are going to prey on women who let them do this, right? And same for women who are breadcrumbing men. I'm not saying only men do this, but I think people get away with it because someone's allowing them to do it. Yeah. So at least individually, we can all take responsibility and stop it at our own individual level. The other takeaway I have is that dating is not a battle. It's not war. We can't think about going out there and being like, well, who's going to win this challenge and who's going to get through the hoops, and ultimately who's going to be like the decision maker in this relationship. I think it's a dance. Dating is a dance, and we're learning each other's steps. We're learning each other's motions, and I wish we would all come together and think about this more as like this big ball that we're going to, and you're just looking for a dance partner who you can really jive with, and maybe you'll step on their toes every once in a while, but it's about that final dance and being like, we really fit well together in this one motion, right? So I think we need to stop thinking about dating as a battle in all sense of that word. I actually would advise everyone to take some sort of partner dance classes because you learn so much from those. Yeah. It's not, when you watch people like salsa dance or waltz, you're like, oh, this is just choreographed. They know exactly where to go. But most of it is freestyle. It's all based on the partner's communication, based on hand gestures, right? Like a little push on the shoulder, like a push on the hands. So I wish we'd take more of these classes because it's about communicating with your partner where you're going next, and then how are you going to finish that move. It'd be a good challenge for everyone. Okay, question of the day.
So this comes from Jessica, and she said that I have been in an on-again, off-again relationship for a while now. And my friends keep telling me that I need to just let it go, but I really do think it's timing. Like, he's been really stressed at work and needs to get his stuff together. What are your takes on this?
Thoughts, guys?
My thoughts? since I just went through that. Your friends are right, girl.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I think in my previous relationship, my ex's way of coping was to drink and to, smoke and to do those things. That was his coping mechanism, whereas I would prefer to communicate.
Mhm.
And I tried really, really hard to just get him to communicate more and more. And he did eventually over time, but that's a lot of work. So do you really want that project?
Right.
Or would it
Right.
be easier for you to save that time and just go and meet all sorts of guys that are out there? This is a
Mhm.
great big world. Go travel and go have fun and go see what's out there. If he's meant to be, he'll come right back. But
Yeah, I would tend to echo that. I think that as human beings, and because dating is so hard and meeting the right person is like finding a needle in a haystack, right? And so when you think you have them, you really don't want to let them go,
Mhm.
especially because you don't really know what the odds are and you don't really know how many other people out there that you're compatible with. But the time and attention and energy that you dedicate to this one person
Mm-hmm.
is time and energy that you're not spending trying to find somebody
Right.
else in the meantime, right? And so it's just important to be honest with yourself and recognize the situation that you're in and know that time is passing you by.
Mhm.
And you could be living and dating and going out and doing these other things and let him figure himself out. And when he gets to a point where
Right.
he is ready to give you that time, because work isn't so crazy, if that ever is even
the
gonna-
reason.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I mean, but I'm 30. Work's been crazy for like 15 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, I
Exactly.
actually have a friend that for 10 years they were like friends, hooking up. They tried dating and then it like didn't work out and then they back to hooking up. It was like this on again, off again mess for years. And we were all like, lose him, like
Right.
not worth it. And now they're married. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is not because she stuck around. She basically was like, I'm done, like cold turkey, like this is not happening. Then he realized on his own accord what he was missing and
That's
then
right.
came back. And I think that's the only way. Like sometimes I think some of it was that he just needed to grow up and like find different priorities. And
Mhm.
like her staying there in the wings was not going to help him do that. If anything,
Mhm.
like leaving it was the only way for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really think, again, the word is communication. It's about communicating your needs. I think it's so easy when you have your shit together for your friends to be like, just leave him. You deserve better. There's plenty of men out there. I've said that to so many of my girlfriends. And then now thinking back about relationships and how it's magical and amazing, but how difficult it is to find someone that you really get along with and be in a relationship with. It's not something you can give up on so easily,
No.
but you have to communicate your needs. So if you need more time, you need to let your partner know. Give them a chance to explain and tell you what they want out of the relationship and figure out a plan. It's about strategizing together. I mean, we've talked to a former divorce lawyer. He said if a relationship was good, it has a potential to be great. So if there's a baseline of a good relationship, then you can work on it to make it great again.
Yeah, well, I think it's hard because in this question, we don't fully know what the history is, but I do agree, like, you don't want to just give up on everything, like at the sign of it not working, but also there's a line. And like we're talking about, like sticking around when you're not feeling respected is never going to get it there. And like, I personally like to believe that things have a way of working themselves out if they're meant to be. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously put your best foot forward, but then realize when it's time to like let it go too.
Yeah, but you have to communicate that first.
Yeah.
Communicate your needs.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Farrah, thanks so much for sharing your breadcrumbing experiences with us. We haven't really talked about breadcrumbing on our show yet.
No,
Which
we
is
have a
so
lot
new.
of ghosting, but not as many people have come forward with breadcrumbing. Although
Yeah.
some of them kind of are. It's maybe just the new term. I don't know.
Yeah, and who knows what's going to be next year. My friend put it best. He goes, whatever the term is, it's just a new term for saying you're being an asshole. Which is true. So again, I think we have to be really responsible for our own actions before we can judge other people's actions. So again, guys, be respectful of your time and be respectful of other people's time.
I don't know if you guys have read that Mark Manson article that's like fuck yes or fuck no. Have you guys read that?
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
like basically like if this person is not a fuck yes, then that is not the person. So I think like when someone's breadcrumbing you, it's like clearly, like, I'm not a top priority for them. Maybe I will be in the future, who knows, but right this minute I'm not. So like letting it be not a reflection of you, but just like where they're at, and then kind of like being like, okay, I want someone that I am that person for, and then looking at it that way might be a good approach too.
Yep. But listeners, you guys are a fuck yes for us. We love hearing from you. So if you want to be a guest on our show, or you just want to write in and tell us some of your ideas, or if you want to recommend a friend to be on the show, we love to hear from you. And again, we have a revamped website. There's so much content on there. You guys need to go to dateablepodcast.com to check it all out. All right, let's wrap this up. On that note, stay dateable.
Your action item for this week is to do a little self-reflection. If you find yourself having the same thing happen to you over and over again, such as people ghosting or flaking on you, really think about what is it about you that attracts this type of behavior. It's time to shift that why me mentality to how can I change mentality. One thing's for sure, you can't change other people. You only have control over yourself. Also, follow us on Instagram as we're about to announce the details for our upcoming holiday contest. Our handle is @DATEABLEPodcast. If you didn't know already, in our off-season, we launched a premium series called the Why Series, where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. We've had some great feedback on how actionable these episodes are, so check it out on our website under the tab Why Series. Or you can now buy directly from iTunes Music. The most efficient way to meet new people is a combination of online and offline. 500 Brunches has your offline covered. Connect over brunch with new friends. Come alone or bring a buddy. There is always a table full of friendly faces, mimosas, and eggs Benedict. Sign up at 500brunches.com and use the code DATEABLE for a free entry. To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast.